Hello and welcome back to the SKUSavvy YouTube channel. Today we're going through Shopify Transfers and how you can utilize these to move stock from one location to another. As you can see, I have navigated into the Shopify admin and gone to products, then transfers. And so here we have a few different transfers. What we're going to do is just go over and create a new transfer. So I've already got a transfer set up with our origin at the Savvy warehouse. So you can select from your locations as well as our destination from our Austin warehouse. So I've already gone ahead and added a few products here. When we go ahead and add a product to the transfer, you'll see that Shopify offers up the inventory quantities at the origin as well as our destination. So if, for instance, we were to add this Revel Berry, Shopify would give us an error there that we don't currently have any inventory items for this at our source location. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. If you did add it, you could still complete the transfer. It just wouldn't actually enable you to check that in. So we'll go ahead and leave that off for now. I've got our other details within here, and now we're just going to go ahead and create the draft. So we're going to save this as a draft, and we could come back in to edit this draft at any point, but we're just going to go ahead and mark this as pending, meaning we've completed the creation of the transfer. Now for comparison, let's jump over into the SKUSavvy side where we are also creating an inventory transfer between two locations. And we've got our source and destination warehouses. Now I've also turned on the suggestions. So one big thing that you notice in the Shopify transfers is that there isn't any kind of suggestion on how many units you should be transferring. So when we are in the SKUSavvy interface here, you can see that we have suggestions populating from the system. And so this is based on what you've got on hand, what you've got committed to orders, what's expected to come in at the transfer, so the destination side of the transfer. And so here we can pull this down and view for a specific product, all of those different values, be able to view the orders there. And we also can influence the quantities based off of a selected date range. So we could look at, for instance, our sales data from last year at this time to be able to predict roughly what the future should be, and then we can make adjustments from there. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the suggestions. That's going to add all of these to the transfer. And then we will have our assembled transfer down below. Now, also included in the calculation here is how fast a product is selling. So if we're selling a product really fast at our destination side, SKUSavvy is going to account for the lead time that it typically takes to get the transfer over there and check it in. That will give you a more accurate quantity suggestion when it comes to creating the transfer. And we do have clients using this, and it does save a lot of time on the transfer. I should also indicate that you can, of course, influence the specific value by setting up your par value ranges for a specific inventory item. And we could also look at our inventory at different locations here to be able to get a better idea, full picture view of where our stock needs to be. Let's go back into the Shopify side where we're now going to complete this transfer and start checking this in. So here we have our transfer. And so we're just going to head over into Receive Inventory. Click on Receive Inventory. And now you can see the items that we have here. So we'll just go ahead and add a few as if we are counting the quantities that have come in. We can reject one. And we get a summary of the inventory that were checked in. So as you can see, we have also the ability to accept all of them or reject all of the items on the transfer. And we get a nice summary of that transfer here, or we can click on and see what were accepted. So let's go ahead and save this. And now we have this transfer that has been received and inventory has been added to stock within our Shopify at this receiving location. Now, if we look at one of the stock items here, we can go into the adjustment history. And from the adjustment history, we can see that transfer was received and it added a quantity to our receiving stock. Now let's head back over into the SKUSavvy side and we'll check in the transfer just to compare the difference. Okay, so here we have the SKUSavvy transfer, and as you can see, we've already created this, very similar to the one on Shopify. Now within here, what we're going to do is first we're going to fulfill the outbound side of this transfer from our Savvy warehouse. And what SKUSavvy is going to do is it's going to show us the bin positions that we need to go through. So we'll fast forward while we pick through this. Again, just highlighting bin positions. And here we could certainly use barcode scanning, but currently we are just using a manual pick here. So we've picked our items, and now we're going to go over and scan each one of these. So one thing that is unique about SKUSavvy is, of course, you can use barcode scanning throughout the entirety of the transfer process, which is not available on Shopify. You also can use barcode scanning to assemble the transfer in the first place within SKUSavvy. So here we've packaged up our items. Now what we're doing is we're getting rates. So if we were going to ship this via a carrier account, we could purchase the label and print that out. Since this is a transfer, we're just assuming that we're going to use our own internal vehicle for this. So we're just going to skip the carrier label. Now we have completed the outbound side of a transfer. If you made errors in this point, you could go back and make an edit to the transfer and unpick the item, put it back into stock, and that would just adjust the transfer quantities correctly. So now we've fulfilled the outbound side of this transfer, and what we're going to do here is jump over to the receiving side, and now we're going to go through and check this in. So we can see here so far that we've fulfilled this, but we still have no items actually checked in. So let's go ahead, we'll check this in. We're going to mark this as delivered. And here what we're looking at is the bin positions as well as our current list of check-in items. So we can see here each of the items on the map of where we need to put this away. So we're going to go ahead, check this in. And again, I'm not using barcode scanning, but you certainly could turn on a scan of the item and a scan of the bin to allocate those over. So as we go through and receive this, we're just receiving one quantity here. We're just going to put this over into the bin. Again, I could just scan the bin in this case, or we can actually select multiple items to receive those at one time. So if we wanted to put these two items in the same bin, we could select the bin here and put those away. Additionally here, we could count all of the items at one time. Similarly to how Shopify enables you to check in all of the items at one time, we could also reject some items, or we could receive mismatched quantities, in which case we would want to go through and make an adjustment on the transfer. Now this is a perishable item, so what we're going to do here is select our lot number, and we'll just put that away into another bin just like any other item, but it is going to have an associated lot with that. Here we got a tracksuit, so let's continue checking this in. We've got all of our items now just about checked in, and that's pretty much going to complete the transfer process. Now, additionally, we could certainly check in multiple items and receive those above and beyond, and we can also print out the labels for any given item here. So hopefully that's helpful as just a comparison between Shopify and SKUSavvy on the transfer side. We look forward to seeing you on the next video. If you haven't already, make sure to get your free SKUSavvy account, and we'll see you over there.